Hey, everybody, I'm David, and welcome into our conversation. I'm here with Ryan, and I'm here with Philip, all from our team, and we're talking about soft skills. If you've been watching a little bit of my profile this week, I kicked the week off with an article about the origins of soft skills and the surprising root or the surprising beginning of where that term came from. If you don't or haven't had an opportunity to read that, we're going to drop that down in the description below so you can just take a quick look at it. But here's a quick spoiler: it came from the military. And that was a very surprising thing to find out. And it boiled down to this: it was that the military had two types of skills: hard skills, which were the practical, technical things that people did, things like, and this was the 70s when they found it. So I wouldn't say coding, but things like, loading a gun, being able to process a certain paperwork, etc, and they called those hard skills. And part of the reasons why they called it hard was because it was easily measurable. They could see whether or not you could or couldn't do that skill, and they could also teach it up in a very specific way so that you could do it. But then they came into account and saw that their most successful people had another set of skills that they called soft skills. This is your leadership, communication, adaptability, problem solving. And what they found about it that was a problem was that the soft skills weren't necessarily easily measurable. So, in other words, it wasn't something that you could look at a person and say, you're doing this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and then get back into a lesson that taught you all of these skills perfectly so you could execute them just like everybody else. It didn't work that way. And so that's where we got the concept of hard and soft skills. And then today I shared something a little bit more about that, where I said hard and soft skills are like two sides of the same coin. Unless you have them both intact, then you can't spend that coin. It's of no value to you without having both in place. And we live in a world sometimes where we see both leaders and employees choosing one side of the coin over the other. And a
Mhm.
lot of times, especially what we're going to talk about today, um, uh, we're going to talk about the soft skill side, but it's just so much easier in some cases to just focus on the hard, the technical skills and keep driving forward. But inevitably, what that means is that there are going to be gaps in your team, gaps in your organization, because you are missing those critical soft skills that help people to get along, that help people to correlate, that bring the creativity to the table, that bring the problem solving to the table. And so I want to start our conversation and bring Philip and Ryan in. And we want to start by talking about the necessity of soft skills. It's not a I don't think for most leaders, and I don't think for most people who are thinking about growing in some area of soft skills, that their necessity is up for question. But yet we do see leaders who seem to set aside those soft skills and focus primarily on the hard skills. Philip, what's your thought about the necessity of these soft skills in the workplace?
It's interesting because when you think about a lot of times, like retention of employees and things like that, you'll find that many people who leave an organization, a lot of times they leave not because of an inability to do the hard skills side of the job, but the inability to deal with all the soft skill issues maybe that are lacking with fellow coworkers or with their management and things like that. I mean, if you go on like websites like Glassdoor and you look up major companies and find out what people's experience has been working with those companies, a lot of times you'll see like especially if a company gets a lot of one-star reviews and you look at it, it's hardly ever because of anything that's like a very tangible aspect of the company. It's more about they treated me like garbage. The HR director was a backstabber, different things like that that people say or that they would never say while they were still on the job. But now that they're free from the job or whatever, went to somewhere else, they kind of cut loose and say, this was my actual experience. The management had no empathy. They didn't care about work-life balance, those things like that, that really,
Mhm.
because of the lack of soft skills, it caused a major a disruption in terms of productivity, in terms of employee retention as well.
Yeah, that's good. Ryan, how about for you? Talk about the necessity, especially you. We always come to Ryan. We treat him as he's the younger one of us. And so he has a different perspective that I find engaging and interesting. So, Ryan, what's your thought on the necessity of soft skills?
I think they're necessary because it brings, if you can get this, it brings longevity.
Hmm.
So often we're, of course, having the technical ability to do a job is going to bring job security, but the real security is being able to go to the next level and bring these soft skills. Of course, we want our manager, right, or the people in leadership to be able to do these things. But if you're younger or just starting off in your career and not quite as advanced, or maybe in a starting position, you can easily get the mindset of like, well, I don't really need it. But if you can start to learn and cultivate and sharpen, no pun intended, your soft skill, then it'll bring longevity and it'll bring you value in the eyes of those that are looking to promote. If you have soft skills, it'll keep you there longer.
For sure.
And you know what, Ryan, you bring up a good point, and I think it's like a critical point, and it's that as HR leaders, as L&D directors, as owners of businesses and so forth, you have to take the opportunity to grow these skills in the people who are working for you. Um, I love to talk a little bit about, and I will some more in the future. I love to talk about the concept of exploring and journeying through soft skills. Because as you introduce soft skills to people, you might find that something actually registers with somebody, and you, together with that employee or that person, you guys both begin to go on a journey of discovery together about the power of that soft skill and their ability to execute in that area. But you've got to take the time, especially with young people, you've got to invest in them and introduce them to, maybe you create a list of core soft skills that every employee needs to be successful in your organization. And you start with that list and you start introducing those soft skills to them. But a lot of times with young people, as you guys have heard us say before, and you've seen it in other things that we've done, the reality is that they're not being taught soft skills in college. They're not coming out of high school knowing it. They're not coming out of college knowing it. They're not even coming out of their first job into their second job necessarily knowing good soft skills. And so I believe that you've got to introduce soft skills. It should be a part of your onboarding program.
Yeah.
And I think that just makes it so much more successful. As we kind of wrap up this conversation a little bit, I want to also just touch briefly on the future of soft skills. We live in a world where there is AI and all of these things going on. And, I asked a question to each one of you guys. Will soft skills survive AI? Philip, what are your thoughts?
I think absolutely they will, because they're part of the intangible elements that an employee needs, a worker needs to be able to excel in what they do on their job. AI, while I don't think any of us have a full scope or understanding of just how far-reaching it's going to become, at its current state, it's more of a compilation of things that are, a series of inputs. But when we deal with things that are more abstract concepts or things that are intangible, that's something that can't necessarily be rendered in zeros and ones, if it makes sense. So to me, that having that ability to excel in the soft skill element, which really in most cases boils down to good relationship management, that's something that I don't think, if AI ever gets there, it's going to take a long time for it to get there to be any level of a replacement. And again, I think I think it's a long shot in terms of replacing soft skills. So
Yeah, I agree. Ryan, how about you?
Yes. I mean, soft skills are going to always survive AI, because at the end of the day, business is about relationships, and the soft skills are going to allow you to have relationship. Business is about connecting with other people to trade goods and services. I have a good, I have a service, and you're going to give me money for it. But most people aren't willing to spend money on somebody that's robotic. That's like Phil said, a 1 or a 0. People are willing to spend money and spend good money if they feel connected to and cared about and valued before they buy into whatever you have. Whether it's you're selling a service like cleaning sidewalks, or you're selling software as a service, anywhere in between. It doesn't matter, as if you have those soft skills and you can teach your team, and you can get it yourself to have those soft skills, you're going to make those connections, and then you're going to make money.
Yeah, I was talking to Lynn, who could another part of our team who couldn't be here tonight. We were talking earlier today, and she said something that was interesting. She talked about this store that she would go to. Her and her husband, they would go. It was called Parisian. It doesn't exist anymore. It was one of the. I think it was one of the Dillard brand stores, Parisian.
Okay.
Um, and she would say the reason why she went to Parisian was that when they went there and she needed a dress, they would say to her husband, "Sir, can we offer you a seat? Can we offer you a drink or something, to help make you comfortable?" And he always loved that. And so that was their impetus to go back there. And then she talked about another young lady who was a customer service representative at another clothier. And she said something interesting. She said that this young lady remembered her name and was so kind to her. And when she would go in this store, she would just make a big deal about her and made her feel so welcome and so involved. And she helped her to find the right clothes that looked good on her. Let's just stop for a second, because some people would say, well, that's just customer service. No, that's problem solving,
Mm-hmm.
that's communication.
Mm-hmm.
There are other skills that are involved in there that are important, that rendered that final outcome. But here's the thing that Lynn said that I thought was so great. She said, yes, the dresses were pricier there, but because of the quality of the care that I received, I was willing to spend the extra. And
Yeah.
that's what the future, I think, looks like. I think AI is a beautiful thing, and all the things that it's going to be able to do and that it already can do are amazing. But the reality is going to be that there is never going to be, I believe, a time where the human connection isn't an important part of business and just day to day living. We're already seeing some of the negative sides of that, where a lack of human connection in people leads to mental health issues, leads to problems of disconnection, and other things that relate to a bad quality of life or a poor quality of life for some people. And so now we do things like say, hey, talk to people, make sure you ask somebody how they're doing. And we implement all of these things that were once very natural to us to do, and they're all part of the human connection. I think it's going to be mission critical to have soft skills that support AI skills that create an all together experience that makes a difference for your customers and the people that you are serving and caring. All right, that's enough conversation on that for now. We're going to be talking more right here on LinkedIn and our other social media platforms. Don't forget, we've got a great free guide for you. It's called the uh, five things that employers say, the top 5 things employers say Gen Z is missing. We want to share that guide with you. Guess what? All 5 things are soft skills that are critical for business success. And of course, we want to make sure that you know about Beyond Day One, our course that helps your people to become more professional in their everyday work by growing the soft skills that make a difference in the workplace. We help to reveal some of the secret hidden rules of the workplace that often lead to people being terminated or not lasting long in their job, not because they're not good, but because they didn't know the necessary rules required to play. You can find the link for both of those things in the description below. Thanks for watching.